The government does not need your money, so why are they coming after it? I want to try to give you 4 reasons why the government absolutely does not need your income. One of the least being, are you aware that they control the interest rates across the country? They can call up the Federal Reserve and within a few meetings could pull a few strings, and they can increase cash flow across the country. And if cash flow is increased, then taxes are increased, and they could increase their ability to have more money in a very short order by just loosening the purse strings somewhat or offering some kind of incentive for the economy to grow. And as the economy grows, they would have more taxes. So the government has the ability to increase taxes and get more money that way immediately. Another thing you might not understand about the government is that they lose billions and hundreds of billions of dollars per year, and there is never any kind of correction measure that goes on in this fashion. This money is never found, it's lost and designated poorly, and that might seem like a correctable problem, which it would be with intense scrutinization. But once you try to start managing money of that volume, you would see that it is near impossible to track all the funding. But if they needed the money years back, they would have been tightening the purse strings. They would have been capturing this money and putting it towards something good if they really needed it. And so if they need it, all they have to do is close the holes up there, but they don't really need the money. Another way that the government, if it needs extra money, can create it is just to pass a law that increases their debt ceiling. If they need an extra $1 trillion, they can say, hey, we need an extra $1 trillion. Let's increase the debt ceiling. And then immediately they get to spend an extra $1 trillion. And basically they have created money. Another way is they could just print it up. Or as you might not realize with the Fed coin, they could digitally just create more income. Now, I'm not saying that these things are good, because they do have consequences such as inflation, increased inflation, and rampant inflation. But the government does not need your money. It already has trillions. So the question then that we should be asking is, why are they coming after your money? And why is it such an important thing upon their agenda this year? Now, with the American Rescue Plan of 2021, we now have an increase of 80,000 IRS agents. And you already know this, but why in the world do you want to create a mini army? And you might think it's not fair to call them a mini army, but why do you want to expand the powers of the government by 80,000 people and arm them? Well, if you arm them, they seem more powerful, and then they have more leeway. And what you've got to understand, that the reason to tax people comes from the Karl Marx playbook. Basically, he taught that if you want to control the people, then you should give an income tax upon them or tax them, and you can eventually tax them into submission. Now think about this. You already taxed on your income, you already taxed on your services, you already taxed on your property, you already taxed on your car, and these things year after year. You already taxed on everything that you purchase or inherit or any kind of gains that you gain during the year. All of this is already taxed, and so why would you want to increase the tax burden of a people? Especially if it has nothing to do with money. It's because it has to do with power and control. You see, to the individual, when an individual faces off with the government is larger than they are. And if the government says, we are going to come take your stuff, we are going to come put you in prison, you will pay taxes, then the power of the government is increased with their ability to tax and put pressure upon the common average man. Now, where does this boil into you and I? We need to understand what is going on. And for the Christian in particular, you need to understand that where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. If you have the Spirit of the Lord involved, you have someone that wants freedom for people, not handcuffs and constraint. Where the Lord is, you want people to be prosperous, to gain advantage, to be able to grow, to be able to support themselves. You want them to be independent, but not so with the things of the world. Something else that we as Christians heavily need to consider is that the government is here to do good. So the government, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, and the government is here to do good. And we need to understand that this oppressive activity that's going on with a government that has unlimited resources already, why in the world is it wanting to press down upon the pockets of individuals for an amount as small as $600? You need to start wrestling with these things and getting those around you to think about these matters. Who is it that is pushing this heavy increase of government, this ever-growing grab for tax dollars? That is a hoax. What they're actually after is the increase of power, and we would actually expect that from anything that was satanically motivated.